Hi everyone, thanks very much for joining us. Today we're delighted to be joined by Sabrina Pace-Humphries, who's an epic trail runner and co-founder of the running group Black Trail Runners. So thanks very much for joining us, Sabrina.
Thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here.
Such a pleasure. So today we're just going to have a quick chat about exercise, the great outdoors, and mental health. Obviously, it's World Mental Health Day today. And we know what a huge role being in the outdoors and being active plays to a lot of people trying to manage any mental health challenges they might have. And you're a real advocate for that. So we just wanted to give you an opportunity to try and share some of your wisdom and maybe help people who might be in a particularly dark place at the moment. So do you just want to give us a bit of an intro into who you are and your trail running journey?
Thank you very much. I'm a 42-year-old mum of 4 and grandmother of 2. Yes, do not let the filter that Zoom has at the moment for you. I took up running after the birth of my 4th child, and I put on 5 stone after I had her, and I hated running. So anyone out there that's watching this, I was not a talented runner. I do not think I'm a talented runner, but I took it up because I had put on a lot of weight, and also I was in the depths of postnatal depression as well. And I had been to see a doctor who had said that one of the key things that I could do for myself was to try and have some Sabrina time, and the exercise would potentially help me to manage my postnatal depression. And I took that up so I did my first run in 2009. And over the years, I initially self-coached myself to first run a 5K and then a 10K. And it was before the apps were out there. So it was very much kind of what I could find out. And I've since gone on to run lots and lots of marathons around the world. My running has allowed me to see parts of the world that I never ever thought possible. And I got into ultra marathon running in 2016, after again another a bit of a kind of mental health crisis, and asking myself about my life and where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And I decided that for my 40th birthday, I needed a goal and I needed something to really focus on. So I decided to run the Marathon des Sables, which is a 250-kilometer race, multi-stage ultra marathon in the Sahara Desert, where you carry everything on your back and you're totally self-sufficient for 6 days.
That's quite a big challenge just to choose to set yourself.
It was, but one of the ways that I manage my mental health and certainly live with anxiety and depression is to always have goals. And it might seem like the most epic of goals, but at that time, it was really, really important for me to find a way to have focus, accountability, and to really do something that was for me, but that would ultimately benefit those around me, being my husband and my children. And I had decided to stop drinking alcohol in 2016 as well. So I needed something else to use as a coping mechanism, and I took up ultra running, and I haven't looked back. For me, it's an absolute key part of the coping strategies that I have to manage my mental health.
Amazing. I mean, I think it's really interesting that you mentioned about setting goals, because I think quite a lot of people who are perhaps feeling a little bit low or having a particularly severe challenge with their mental health, and I think that might be the case for a lot of people at the moment. Obviously, coming out of a lockdown, everyone kind of regaining a little bit of freedom and a little bit more control over their lives, and then potentially heading back into more local lockdowns. I think people's anxiety levels could be a little bit higher at the moment. So can you talk to us a little bit about how that goal setting side of things worked for you, and how you kind of motivate yourself to do that when you're not feeling your most optimal?
Yeah, I think that I feel that too at the moment. I feel very unsure of the future. Some days I'll wake up and it's kind of like almost especially when I know I've got the black dog on my shoulder. It's like, well, what's the point? You know, what's the point of going out and running if I've got nothing that I've got coming up, or my races have been cancelled, or I can't get into the gym to do my what, you know, we are there. And I think that it's really hard time for so many people at the moment. And how I manage that is that I set myself little goals that I can pick off. So it might be, for example, I know a lot of people at the moment are doing Run Every Day October, so Red October. So that accountability, that thing, that challenge, those virtual challenges are really nice little things to do in order to give you another reason to go out the door. And for me, I need to have some goals to work towards with my physical fitness, in order to have that me time, because my anxiety manifests in, as I know many others do, is 1,000 thoughts at once. So many thoughts, and I can't grip onto anything. It's like I can't pick something because there are so many thoughts, and I become, you know, my heart rate rises, I start to hyperventilate, I don't feel as though I can do anything because there's so many thoughts in my head that are racing around. So over the years, what I found is that if I can have a goal that I can really take time within a day to focus on, so even if that is, okay, today I'm going to go out and I'm going to do some fartlek running, or I'm going to go out and I'm going to run 5 times or 3 times, or even sometimes 1 time up the biggest hill I can find around my house. Then if I can focus on that, I can think, okay, where's that going to be? How am I going to get there? When I'm there, how many am I going to do? How long's my run going to be in total? Am I going to need any food with me? Am I going to take the dog? You know, I can then really focus on that thing, which can just quieten some of those other voices, those other things, you know, and it doesn't need to be a massive thing. You know, that's the thing. I always say it's the little steps that build up to the big step. So just setting yourself a goal just of something to do for that day can help and for me, and I use this all the time, can help me to have a bit of focus, can help to quieten those voices in my head. And then when I do that thing, the sense that I've achieved something in those days when it's really dark, the sense and the pride's probably not the best word for it, but just being able to tick that box and think, today I did something good for myself.
That sense of accomplishment, isn't it?
That's it, because anxiety and depression can have you believing that you're no good at anything, you're not going to be able to do that. I can't even think about doing it because I can't figure out how I'm going to get myself up out of bed this morning, or once I get the kids to school, I just want to go back to bed. But what I say, especially with running, and why I find running such a great tool for managing mental health, is that I've never, ever come back from a run, even if it's a walk run, or even it's just a fast hike that I've decided after 1 minute in, I don't want to run today, I just want a fast hike, or I just want to walk. I never come back and say, I wish I hadn't done that. I always come back and say, I'm really glad that I did that. And that's a win for me today in terms of living with my mental health, because living with anxiety and depression, I've ticked that box today. I've done something. So that's the one tool that I use, is just to find something that you can do for yourself to focus on that. And I use running as the conduit for that, because it's the running and the being out in nature that really helps me to manage my mental health.
And I think that's the key, isn't it? I think it's just if you can set yourself really small goals, and quite often, you know, you're not feeling your most energetic. So maybe you'll think, do you know what, I can't run, like I can barely get up and get dressed today. But actually there's something about being outside that's really therapeutic. So even if it is a case of, okay, I'm going to walk to the shops instead of driving to the shops. And like you say, even if it's a walk or a hike and you're not smashing out, you know, personal bests or running up a mountain, but actually just getting outside can sometimes just give you that sense of accomplishment that, okay, I did that, and now I can maybe move on to do the next thing in the day.
And, you know, I really believe in the power of, you're absolutely right. You know, I always say it's finish lines, not finish times.
Yeah.
You know, comparison, you know, compare and despair. We spend, and again, it's a symptom of anxiety, that imposter syndrome, that I'm no good, I shouldn't be here. You look on Strava or you look around Facebook or social media, you see other women doing it or other men doing it, and you're like, oh, they've just got it all together. I'm here to tell you now, most people haven't. You know, most people haven't got it together, especially at these times. The fact that you're here, the fact that you're awake, the fact that you're even contemplating going out and doing a run or doing a walk or walking to the shop is a great thing, because, you know, many people can't. And that's why I always, no matter how black I feel when I wake up, you know, how sad of mind I feel, I think, you know, even if I do get the dog and just walk along to the shop to get a magazine or a pint of milk or a chocolate bar, I'm going to be out, I'm going to be getting that vitamin D inside me. And who knows what's going to happen in the future. You know, we don't know what lockdowns are going to happen. So I make the most of any time that I can have outdoors while I can have that time outdoors. And like when you're outdoors, especially if you find a woodland or a trail or a canal towpath, I believe in the power of all moments, AWE, because often you will see something or you will experience something in nature that you just don't get from the road. And I believe we have to try and get as many all moments into our lives, especially when we suffer with mental health issues, because it's those moments where we can look up and take a deep breath and just see the beauty in something so simple, a view, a bird we've seen, somebody that smiled at us as we've been going along, that make you just see a little bit of light in sometimes what can seem like a really dark time.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said for what you were saying about, you know, that imposter syndrome and the comparison race that we all fall foul of every now and again. And I think sometimes actually just closing your phone and leaving social media behind, and you're not doing it for Strava and you're not doing it to post it on social media, and you know, leave the phone in the car, go for your walk. And I think there's a lot to be said for just actually when you're feeling perhaps overwhelmed and you've got a lot of noise in your head, that sometimes taking in other people's stories and other people's accomplishments can make it worse. So I know for myself, I'll often say, okay, there's no social media today, or I'm not even going to put my run on Strava. It doesn't matter. It's not about that. And, you know, sometimes it's just about putting your trainers on and getting outside and actually absorbing what nature's got to offer. And, you know, for me, if I get out first thing in the morning, I'll always try and go early, because I really do find that the impact it then has on the rest of my day is huge. So I feel like I can then go and achieve so much more because I did that thing already.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I love that. There's something also about, as well as I again, a symptom of my anxiety. I know when I'm really stressed at the moment, I'm starting to write a book. I'm very active with Black Trail Runners. I'm thinking about races for next year. I'm moving house. There's a lot of stress, and I'm not sleeping well. So I'm waking up sometimes at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I very much think that, when I'm awake, I like to, if it's for more than half an hour, I like to do something. So often I'll get up at sunrise and I'll go out and I'll either walk or I'll run. And there's something beautiful, I think, about, if you can, there's something beautiful about that silence that there is at that time in the morning. And I did a massive 110-mile continuous run at mid-September, and when the dawn came, when the darkness faded and the light came, there's just something really, really beautiful and really powerful for the soul to be able to see that. So I'd recommend to anyone, even if you'd only do it once this year, to wake up and find a spot and just watch a sunrise. And that stays with you as well, And I love that time in the morning for getting up and getting out and then starting the day feeling really good. I'm more of a morning person than I am evening. I find I get very, very tired.
Me too. I
In
think
the
it's a children thing.
It's a children thing. Yeah. I think you can either be a morning person or an evening person. I'm certainly a morning person. But I think that kind of that morning stuff, and getting out and, you know, being out there is can be real food for the soul if you can get out there. And if you don't feel safe enough, maybe like ask a friend, you know, do you fancy coming and watching a sunrise this morning, or, you know, in a week, or look at the weather forecast and see what's going on. Because doing it alone is great, but doing it with somebody that that you can share that with you as well, that power of community, obviously social distanced,
Yeah.
is important too.
There's something very unspoiled about that time of day, isn't it? It's almost like life hasn't had an opportunity to affect the day yet, and there's something really still and really quiet. And that I know for myself, I love getting out and running before the children are awake. So I'll get out and go onto our local common ground and go and just do a couple of miles. And it's, you know, it's not fast and it's not impressive, but there's a bench under a tree, and you just sit there and you think, you know, okay, I have a bit of control over what this day is going to look like before the day starts to happen to you. I find sometimes if you wake up and you pick up your phone and you're on emails and WhatsApp and social media, and it's like the day starts to happen to you before you've managed to actually get a grasp on what you want your day to be. So I really love that. Thank you. That's a really great tip. And obviously you're going to be joining us at the National Outdoor Expo, which we're really excited about. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about Black Trail Runners and what you're trying to do for the Black Trail running community?
Yeah, we, myself and 7 other Black runners, trail runners and outdoor specialists, we set up Black Trail Runners in July because we're all trail. We all love being outside. We love trail running. And we have been very aware for years of the lack of diversity, the lack of Black people in the trail running community. And I think with the social consciousness around the Black Lives Matter movement, from June, from the murder of George Floyd, and also Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, who was a runner, who was shot while running and killed while running. I think that it really struck something inside us that actually this issue of the lack of diversity in trail running really needed to be addressed. Because we believe it's not the reason Black people don't trail run, or the reason that you do not see any, or very little Black people trail running, is not because we don't want to. It's not because we don't want to be out in nature. It's very much to do with what we believe are like 3 key areas, and it's access, it's about skills, and it's about representation. It's about you can't be who you can't see. So I grew up in a Cotswold community, in a Cotswold town. I didn't know any of the Black or mixed race people when I was growing up. I therefore suffered with a lot of rural racism, which of course psychologically affected me, and certainly very much feeds into my anxiety and depression to this day. But for Black trail runners, I use trail running and ultra running as a way to manage that. So therefore, to have a discipline which can be so beneficial to mental health, not be as diverse as it's played out to be, or it seems to be, is a real issue, because it stops Black people trail running. It stops Black people experiencing being outdoors, being in nature, being on trails. So we saw a real issue with that. So we set up the community of Black trail runners as a safe space, as a place that Black people can join, and also white allies who want to support our mission can join, can be safe, come out on runs with led runs, whether they're runners who have been running for years or whether they're brand new and just want to see what trail running is about. It's a safe community, it's a safe space, and we will be addressing, and we've already started to address, the issues around access to trails, whether that's transportation or whether it's financial. We've started to address skills. So what do you need? Is there a certain way that you run on trails? What food do you need? What kit do you need? What's safe? How do you navigate? All of those things that as runners we kind of almost can take for granted, but which again can be a barrier to participation. But part of the reason that I'm here with you today, and that I'm going to kind of be working with you, the outdoor show and the National Running Show, is you can't be who you can't see. So therefore, many Black people have grown up not seeing in sports brands, not seeing in media, not seeing at events, Black people who are out there doing it and sharing their lived experience of doing that. So what we are really, really pushing on is representation. It's about being out there, telling our stories, helping people to see, actually, this is a place that I belong, that I have as much right to be as anyone else. And it's a place that I can use to help me to manage emotional, psychological trauma that I have experienced being a person of color, growing up in the UK, growing up around the world, because actually Black trail runners, our community is really expanding. It's not just UK, it's people from around the world, that Black people who experience the same thing around those access, that skills, that representation when it comes to trail running. And we're a campaigning group too. So our first campaign was very much aimed at race organizers and race directors who do not ask when we're entering races, the questions about ethnicity, because in order for us to really affect and change policy and really make positive things happen in the future, we know that there's a problem, but we also need that data from race organizations to help us in order to be speaking in an intelligent way and actually having the evidence to back up what we're saying, and also so that we can see that change is being made. So it's been amazing that the past couple of months, it's felt like more than a couple of months, but the response that we've had has been overwhelming and mostly positive. Of course, there will always be detractors out there, or people that aren't ready to look at a sport which is seen as inclusive and help us to address some of the reasons why it's not. And we'll always have that. But mostly the response has been positive, and we would absolutely urge any Black runners out there to join our community, and white allies who want to help us to promote this message and to get in front of more brands and race organizers to hook up with us.
That's amazing. And I think that's one of the things we're really for, is making sure that the whole community is welcome. We say this at all of our shows, no matter how able you are, whether you have disabilities, what religion you are, what race you are, what gender you are, what level of ability you are, there's a place for you within this community. And I think it's opening that out and saying, okay, who doesn't feel welcome, and how do we address that? So we're really delighted to be working with you to make sure that we get as many people along to these community events as possible. Where can people find you if they want to get involved?
Absolutely. So we have a private community on Facebook. So if you just search for Black Trail Runners, just request to join, and I'm one of the admins on there, so I will let you in. We also have a thriving community on Instagram, so at Black Trail Runners. Come follow us, share content, engage with us. We're all about engaging. We have events that we're starting to socially distance. We had our first Black Trail Runners Trail Taster weekend 2 weekends ago. That was amazing. We're going to be putting on more of those around the UK. Or follow me. I share a lot of content as well. I talk about what we're doing. So I'm at Sab Runs Miles on Instagram. So come and follow me, as well as Black Trail Runners. I also talk about mental health. I like to engage. I see the people that follow me as kind of friends, and I really believe in the power of community. And certainly my philosophy and the philosophy of Black Trail Runners is that we want to have conversations. Sometimes those conversations might feel really uncomfortable, but we believe, and I believe, that it's in those uncomfortable conversations around, whether it's racism, whether it's the lack of diversity in running, whether it's mental health, having uncomfortable conversations can lead to real change. And often it is those conversations that help to change the game. So That's what we're about. And we would urge people to come and have those conversations with us, have those conversations with me. You know, my door is open. You know, I am a mum of 4, I am a grandmother of 2, I am an ultra runner, but ultimately I'm just a female trying to do the very best that she can day in, day out. And I think ultimately, I know a lot of people will just be wanting to do the best they can with what we have at the moment.
Brilliant. And what just sort of parting message would you have for anyone who's potentially struggling a little bit at the moment, not feeling their best? You know, what would you say is sort of your one last bit of advice that you can offer, you know, if they can just do one thing?
Reach out, you know, ask for help. You do not need to suffer alone. You are not alone in this. The people that you see that look like the happiest of people are often fighting the battle themselves too. Often the people that seem to have it the most together are really struggling. So I would just say reach out, whether that's a text, a phone call, sometimes just a direct message to somebody that has said something that you really relate to. Reach out. The amount of people that I have that message me and say, Sabrina, you probably will never read this. And I do, you know, I do, because I've been there and I am there at times. So I would just say, reach out. You are not alone.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sabrina. And we really look forward to working with you over the coming months in the lead up to the National Outdoor Expo. And if anyone who's watching doesn't have a ticket yet, get in touch with the team, marketing@raccoonevents.com. We can sort you out with a free ticket to the show. Everyone is welcome. Thank you very much for your time, Sabrina. And we wish everyone a really good World Mental Health Day. And, you know, I really hope some of what Sabrina and I have been chatting about resonates, and, you know, you feel like you can reach out to either one of us. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.